Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this edition of Facts and Realities of Education. The state has the duty to provide education for her citizens. This duty is the right of the citizens to be educated. Now, from as early as 1960s, denominational establishment came in to assist the state to provide education for the citizens in Cameroon. As from the 1990s onward, there was an increase in the population that the state and denominational institutions could not contain, and lay private education sprung up in Cameroon. What seems to be the case now is these private educations, lay private education, they are already getting more than the state and the denominational institutions. Our concern in today's program is to find out if these lay private educators, these lay private proprietors, want to find out how education oriented they are. Put in another way, are they educators or are they businessmen? That is the goal of this discussion. With me in the studio tonight is, we have two teachers who would tell us from their experience what they have in the field, what they go through. We have Mr. Lika George. Mr. Lika George, good evening.
Thank you.
And welcome to the program.
Thank you.
This is not the first time that we're having Mr. Lika in this program. Besides Mr. Lika, we have Mr. Takon Otto Dominic. Good evening, sir, and welcome.
Good evening. Thank you.
My pleasure having you people on set. Tonight we begin with this issue of lay private proprietors. How education oriented they are. We begin with Mr. Lika George. Let's look at what is the setup of these lay private school. We'll look at the setup. How are they? What is the organigram?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I want to define some terms relative to what we have to discuss today.
Mm-hmm.
I will start with a lay private institution,
Mm-hmm.
which is an institution, an establishment owned by a private individual,
Mm-hmm.
having his or her aims and ends.
His or her aims and ends.
Yes.
That is it.
Mm-hmm. And then when we talk of a businessman,
Mm-hmm.
that is somebody who has, that his prime objective is to maximize profit in anything he or she does.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk of an educator,
Mm-hmm.
that's somebody who impacts knowledge, who plays the role of education,
Mm-hmm.
a teacher,
Mm-hmm.
a tutor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now we're talking about the setup in our lay private institutions nowadays. You discover that there's a sole proprietor.
Mm-hmm.
That's the owner of the establishment.
Yes.
And then we have administrators.
Mm-hmm.
And these administrators are being chosen by he or she.
Mm-hmm.
That's the owner of the
school.
Yes. Maybe it can be family members
Mm-hmm.
or any other person related to him or her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Takon, when we look at the setup of most of these lay private schools, we have something like Mr. Lika is explaining.
Yeah.
But let me touch something, because we are talking about how education oriented they are. What about their finances? How do they orientate their finances around their school? How do they handle it? If I want to say so.
I think I will start by saying that the lay private institutions, they are a great help to the government first.
Of course.
Because when I look at education, it is something that is the duty of the government,
the state. Yes.
Of the state.
Yes.
So if the lay private are coming in, it means it is a hand that the government is giving to. It is a hand that the government is giving to the lay private institution to help them in that objective.
Mm-hmm.
So
it is a hand that the lay private sector is giving to the government.
Exactly.
Yes.
Thank you. So we all know that in Cameroon, education is not free.
Mm-hmm. In practice,
it is not free
because the state says at least at the elementary level,
mm-hmm.
it is supposed to be free and compulsory.
Mm-hmm. It's supposed to,
mm-hmm.
but it's not what we are experiencing.
Yes.
So at that, because for example, if it hadn't been the government had offered education free,
mm-hmm.
then I will be looking at the lay private education going into business.
Mm-hmm.
But if the government begins by not giving the education free,
mm-hmm.
it means that even in the government there's some business.
Mm-hmm.
But without notwithstanding, I think before getting into looking at whether they are working in they are business oriented. We should thank really the lay private education for really accepting to collaborate with the government to advance education.
Okay, we'll be coming back to that, because there is no side. There is, like they say, to every dark clouds there's always a silver lining.
Exactly.
Now we'll be coming back to see the contribution of the lay private sector in education in Cameroon. But we want to find out, when I look at lay private schools, what I see is everything that concerns money evolves around the proprietor, the owner. Is that the experience? Do you also do you have that experience too?
Yeah, it's true.
So why is that? Is it like, let me secure what belongs to me?
They are investors.
Okay.
So before the other parties came in,
yes,
they are that is what they call it, the sole proprietor. Sometimes called the sole proprietor, because they are the main source of the creation of that institution. So financially, they are the center, everything, they are the center. So that's why you see all the benefits that has to that maybe moves around the institution. It's centered to the sole proprietor, because who has money has power.
Of
so
course.
everything just moves around the
Okay.
sole proprietor.
Mr. Lika.
Yes, I wanted to see come back. As I said, these are individuals that they have their aims and their ends. And one thing is, there are certain aspects or certain things they do, like to attract. First of all, their aim is to always attract a population in a school, and to attract a population in a school, they have various methods of advertisement or publicity, as we say. That's to be one. First of all, their aim is to be one of the big ones in that geographical location where the school is, to also produce good results at all cost. To attract all of these advantages, a sole proprietor has there are many things he puts forward to at least because attracting a population means attracting money. If the population is not there, meaning that money will not be there. So the first thing, as far as a sole proprietor, that is the lay private schools are concerned, is monetary, to enrich themselves. That's the first thing. And they do this by impacting knowledge.
Yeah.
They do this by impacting knowledge. Yeah.
Okay, but I want to tell our viewers that they can comment on the theme with that SMS number that is on the screen. I hope that our producers will give us the number so that they can be able to comment and share their own view. They know the number for SMS on the screen. But then what I was asking about the setup is, why can they not appoint any other person to be like the bossa? Let me, if I have to say, can it be a bossa, Mr. Takon?
Okay, I think I am trying to get what you're saying. Is you just said they are the center, which means that even actively they physically represent their institutions. Okay, because that's different. Because it would have been in such a way that they create the institution, they put people that can manage it,
the school.
They manage the school. Why they remain at the?
They can remain behind at the background.
Yes.
Or they can be there. But then not everything, because when you look at what I see in most private schools today is, if the bursar is not the proprietor himself, if it is not his wife or her husband, it should be his brother, his
family
members. Why should they know? Is that what happens in state institutions?
No.
Correct. So
No.
why my worry was this setup, this financial setup, yes, that is reserved for, call it, family members. Yes. Because is it that they are afraid that you and I will know what is coming in school, or how?
Yes, the main objective, as we have said, of a sole proprietor business is always to make profit.
Yes.
And sometimes they guard themselves against anybody coming in and at least embezzling money or something. That's why you see that the business circulates around the family members or the trusted ones. And one thing is this: their objective, as we have said, is always money making, but they play a role which, I can, let us put it this way, they play a role which the state is playing to, but they use that now, and by let me say by virtue of weakness in our state institution and whatsoever, they profit that.
Okay.
Where you see that they dominate even our educational sector now.
Okay, let's look at the fees.
Can you?
Yes.
Okay.
You have something here?
Yes, I wanted to say something. You know, when you invest, you have to follow up your investment, and in the course of following up your investment, there is trust, confidence. That's you have to you combine all that,
Yes.
and to maybe have trustworthy people that will manage your investment. It's not easy to have them. So that's why at times you have some sole proprietor that will manage a school for a good number of years before maybe giving a hand to a stranger. But the majority things that they can work within the family, the trust
Circle.
can be within the family circle,
yes.
before inviting strangers.
Okay.
That is why the core posts
Yes.
are being
Managed by
delegated
family members.
to family members.
Okay. Let's get to something else. Let's look at the school fees. When you look at the fees in lay private school, they seem to be too high. Are they education oriented when it comes to fee?
Yes, the issue is this. We have said the primary aim is always maximization of profit. That's why you see, and there's one thing they flatter parents with. They have well constructed buildings. They put forward well furnished classrooms. Well, that's well decorated to an extent that you see even the follow up and everything. They do everything possible, and then it attracts parents, and you find themselves now. That is increasing fees yearly, and is not any problem to parents.
Parents don't complain
because they know that a child is well followed up, and the child is injury free, and all those type of things that you always watch them in our state institutions.
Okay, Mr. Takon, let's find out, is school fee, can we quantify the amount of school fee that is charged in our lay private schools? Can we make any comparison between that and the goal of educating?
I wanted to say this point. Why is it that in the lay private school the school fees is different?
Yes.
Why is it
from government?
Yes, from the government.
That is the same thing I'm asking about fee, because if government and lay private schools are partners, it means they are doing the same thing.
They are doing the same job.
Now, why is their own fee more than that?
From that point of view, I think it's because the government, the way it is. I would like say it's like a market. The way you present your good in the market, we might be selling the same good,
yes,
but the way I present my good,
the package,
yes, it will attract more customers.
Yes.
So the government and the lay private school, they are doing the same job, but the way they are handling that job, that's where the difference comes.
Okay.
And you see, they have given a lot of what can I say, advantage to the lay private school in the way they do the education inside Cameroon, because when you look at it, for example, when they talk of lycées, they keep saying that the teachers are not too motivated, and because they know that monthly their salary will certainly be there, so the motivation is not there, or the follow up. But meanwhile, in the private school, you see that a teacher is being paid according to what he teaches. So there is a kind of follow up, and the teacher is afraid of should I not maybe present this goal at the end of maybe a sequence, yes, I will not be able to have this amount of money. Yes. So that follow up makes a difference. There is follow up. There is the way the teachers do present their lessons. All of that makes a big difference. Is it the same in the private school, or is it the same in the government institution? That is where you see that the salary begin to increase. I would prefer to send my child to a lay private school where I know that there is a kind of special follow up where I can't find it in the government institutions. Okay. That is where the school fees.
Okay. There is, yes, Mr.
Yes, I wanted to add something to what my colleague said, because when you look very keenly, you discover that this is it generally is global. It's a global type of business because it circulates right to the government. Because for a lay private to have an authorization, there are sums of millions deposited in the ministry.
Yes. Let's be. This is facts and realities of education. When we say facts, is it a fact or this is what? Because there's a difference between somebody who passed the unorthodox way, somebody who passed the abnormal way to deposit a document, and the exigencies. Because when I look at it, to create a school, they simply ask for your document and some conditions to be fulfilled. Do we really ask for money?
The money is being asked because I can have some examples where schools, planetary schools as they call, are being locked up because they are not authorized. And after a period of time, without that authorization, they are being opened.
Okay, then that should be something like the problem of laxity, the problem of call it administrative. I want to say administrative tolerance, because once a school is a clandestine school, when the school is not authorized, it is not supposed to operate.
Very true.
Correct. So it is a laxity on the part of those concerned to do the follow-up. But then if you have to open up a school, you don't pay an amount. There are conditions that you have to fulfill to come to that point.
Yes.
So what I mean is those who pay amount are those who don't fulfill that condition.
That's the
like
normal
Douala,
way.
If we have to put the conditions down in Douala, many schools will close.
True.
Because there is a certain surface area of land
Exactly.
that you must have to operate.
Yes.
You see schools in Douala without football fields, without even a court for students and children to play.
And that's why I wanted to relate it to the fees.
Okay.
Because you see that there are many conditions that are surrounding a lay private owner of a school to fulfill them, which are financial, depositing money this way and that without doing what is really true.
Okay.
So you find themselves raising fees
In order to cope. Okay.
because it's a business setup. Yes.
Okay. Now we look at the salaries of teachers. Salaries of teachers in our lay private schools. Mr. Takon, you were outlining something like lay private schools, their packaging is so attractive that they can raise up the. They have such attractive packages.
Yeah.
What about salaries? Because there's a general cry out there that lay private teachers, their salaries are not commensurate to their. Is that a point?
Yeah, that is a fact. That is a fact. There is. I think it's at the level of the mentality.
Okay.
Because to me, proprietors were supposed to consider teachers as partners of their business, of the business, because.
Correct. I like the term of the business.
Yes, they're supposed to consider them as partners.
Yes.
Because it's not because you created a school that you'll be able to
that
teach.
You think that everything
you can even teach those 200. The
you
200
can even teach
students
2, 3, 4 classes.
Cannot. So they are partners. Without those teachers, you cannot attain even that financial objectives. So that consideration now is supposed to be, is not a consideration that is verbal. It's supposed to be then also around the finance that comes in. But you realize that really in some lay private school, teachers are not being paid according to some kind of criteria. They are not. It's not really up to that standard. So it really poses a problem.
Okay, Mr. Lika, we look at this issue of salaries, and I think that the government, like he said, the lay private schools, they are giving a hand. Lay private proprietors, they are giving a hand to the government in the education process. That is why the government gives what we call subsidies. But then, with these subsidies, there are some teachers that they have never experienced anything like an increment in their salary because the government gave subsidies. And if you follow the state, the trends from the government, subsidies are given almost every year. I may be wrong, but they are given almost every year.
Really, the issue of salary as far as lay private institutions are concerned is a problem. Why? Because you see huge amounts of of money that children pay in the name of fees, but you see the minimal amount they give to teachers.
Yes.
Because I once made a certain calculation, just roughly, because a teacher having 30 pupils with a fee of 50,000 francs
can know what they will give,
and then you discover that might be 10 of those pupils in that class pays a salary for the whole year.
Yes.
Then you imagine what a proprietor can gain per class. But you find yourself when a teacher even approaches a proprietor for an increment is a problem.
Yes.
One thing is this: is disguised slavery as far as teachers in the lay private schools are concerned, because you are being followed up and you are being made to work more than you, that is if that is your salary depends on your
input.
Yes, on your input.
Yes.
But you find yourself in a situation where there is no encouragement. So, and first of all, I want to start by saying that the problem starts from the hierarchies. Okay. Because if the labor code and all those that is the minimum salaries and everything, if the state can put all those things and then follow them up to make sure that an employee in a lay private sector is supposed to at least have this
amount,
and then if you have already had an experience of this number of years, you are supposed to have this particular increment, not a decision of a lay private proprietor. I think teachers of the lay private shouldn't be complaining. They should be richer than even the state teachers, because relative to the population of certain schools that we witness nowadays, lay private teachers should be moving in cars.
Okay, let me, it's a bit personal. You people are teachers in the lay private sectors. Have you ever, 1 month or maybe at a certain period of the year, you experience maybe the proprietor adds 2,000 francs to your salaries because the state gave subsidies? Have you ever, Mr. Takon?
No.
Okay. No. Now, we'll leave that. We'll go to something else. Look at
I wanted to add something on salaries.
Yes.
You know, the teachers are like stuck because in the salary issue. You know, to teach in a government school,
yes,
there are some conditions you have to fulfill. Now, since as teaching in the lay private school becomes like a way out, because you are stuck after having your degree, you're stuck, you don't have employment. So now I think the lay private, the sole proprietors,
yes,
they use that as a way to attain your objective. So I can say some teachers are frustrated. Since as
because they have to make,
they are frustrated, they have to leave. And now because of that frustration, the sole proprietor uses that opportunity to take these youths of Cameroon, attain their objective, but do not look at them financially.
They just propose any amount to you.
Propose, and at times you're forced to take that because really it's either you take it or you go back to the quarter.
Okay.
So
all right, we'll come back to, let's look at the working conditions. We'll look at the attendance. When you come to school in the morning, if you are 2 hours late in lay private schools, it is well noted, and at the end of the month it's deducted from your salary.
Yeah.
When they do like that, what about the lessons that you were supposed to teach on that day? Do they go back to make sure that you cover up? Mr. Lika, do you
yes, that is why I was saying that is disguised slavery, because you discover that a teacher moves the way, that is the teacher works the way the proprietor designs. If he says you will be there at 6, you must. Not that you will, you must be there. And if you are to leave at 6, you must be there. And one thing is this: you discover that when the sanction goes salary wise, because when they are paying, they cut your salary. But as that's looking at the negative part of it, as far as relates to the child, no, that one is not taken care of, because they care less as far as covering up is concerned. Because you find you cannot imagine a situation where a teacher comes late and then the proprietor asks the teacher to go back, and then the children, he will go and he will pick a teacher to come and play the time, that is to cover up, so the day should finish. At what time even that child that those children that particular day they have done nothing.
Okay.
But for the proprietor, he cares. So what his problem is to sanction you salary wise, because he knows that when you are touched financially, you feel pains.
Okay. I wanted to look at this issue of workload and coverage. Now, when you look at it, you see that what the concern is, they make sure that you have covered up your program, but they don't go to the core. They don't try to find out if you're supposed to teach 3 lessons in this chapter. You can teach 1, and you have signed the chapter. When they do the checkup, do they really go in depth?
Yes.
Our time is almost rounding up. That's why I want to.
Yeah, this thing. That's why I will still even go up to say I'm starting from the hierarchies, because you cannot have inspection that comes from the state, and you will come and remain in the office of a lay proprietor without even checking lesson notes. So it means that if the state can play such a role, the sole proprietor will not also have time, because for him, if he sanctions you financially, or if the year finishes and children manage it to pass, since we're having collective promotion nowadays and everything, you find yourself, all the children are moving without a base and everything.
Okay.
There is no follow-up.
Okay, we are rounding up because of time. Now let's look at it. There is no dark cloud without a silver lining, like I said. You see that at least after all these things, there is what comes out from these lay private schools, or from private schools in the country, seems to be more than what is coming out from government schools. Mr. Takon, have you understood? Have you realized that private schools are, after all, that their output beats that of government schools
financially,
in terms of the
result?
Yes.
Yes, the result
Also,
is
when you look at the base teacher, a base student in official exams comes from a lay private school, comes from a private school.
Yes, that is a result of the good follow-up that we have.
Okay.
That's why I told you at the beginning, the way they present their packages.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. For time constraint, teachers will be rounding up, but we will come back to this very topic to look at it. We will look at the enrollment, the class size, to see how far they influence the education. Thank you guys for taking time off your tight schedule to be part of us in this edition of the program.
Thank you.
We'll be grateful when we knock at your doors. You will be available to come to us again. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at the end of this edition of Facts and Realities of Education. Next week, we'll be there for something more. Programs continue on TBS. Do not go away. Good night.